Welcome back to Catherine Parr's Light and to part two of my powerful conversation with Deidre Wilton. Before we dive in, if you enjoy these episodes, please take a moment to like, subscribe, follow, and share this podcast with someone who would love this kōrero. It's the best way to help more people find the guidance and grow with us. In this episode, we go even deeper, exploring karmic cycles and how astrological influences shape our belief systems, our dreams, and our ability to manifest. We discuss the role of the inner child and divine energy and how releasing karma through pain can become a doorway to growth. We also look ahead with future predictions for 2025 through to 2027 and talk about what it means to embrace your individuality, shift relationship dynamics, face fears, and step into self-growth. Together, we explore past lives, universal laws, the balance of light and darkness, and how we can stay connected to the earth, our communities, and purpose while manifesting the lives our souls came in here to live. If you haven't listened to part one, I recommend starting there to catch the full flow of this conversation. But if you're ready, let's dive into part two.
And also taking the time to think, okay, this has come up in my life, this issue, this whatever. There's something for me to look at there. So is there a mirror? Or is this someone just projecting their stuff onto me? Because the human brain cannot recognize a trait in another person unless you have it yourself.
Yes.
And so, usually when someone really annoys us or upsets us, if we have a real reaction to something, there's two reasons for it. One, you've got it yourself and you need to do some work on it. Or two, it's a past life thing.
Let's
That
talk
needs to be
about that
resolved in another
because
lifetime.
let's talk into that bit, the
Yeah, so,
past life and what we
we
can
all,
do in that situation.
yeah, so, every lifetime that you choose your life before you're born and you choose to learn things, because the earth plane is a school of learning. That's why we come here. Nobody comes here to suffer and be miserable, but we choose some very challenging experiences to go through, which are designed for us to learn, not for us to suffer. And that's where as humans, we get so caught up in the emotions. Oh, that was so mean. That shouldn't have happened to me.
Yes.
I mean, I think in my book that I wrote, the first line, I still remember vividly the first time I was about 23 years old and someone said to me, everything that's happened in your life is all your own fault. And I remember thinking, oh my God, how could you say that? You have no idea what I've been through. How could you say that? But and so when I wrote my book,
Especially at 23.
yeah, so I wrote the book and it's called It's All Your Fault, because number one, you choose your life before you're born. So everything you're going to go through, you've chosen to go through for a reason. And number two, once you get here, you have a choice how you can react to everything you go through. You can go through the whole emotional drama and be all of that, or you can look at what you're learning from it and take the learning and move forward. If you've chosen to come into this lifetime as a Scorpio, so Scorpio is the most intensely sensitive sign of the zodiac. So if you've chosen to come into this lifetime as a Scorpio, you've chosen to come into have a lifetime of feeling very deeply into everything that's going to happen to you. So we can use our feelings and our emotions to really develop ourselves and grow and become very powerful and very successful and very happy and grow. Or we can use those emotions to trash ourselves and think we're worthless, useless, we're victims, nothing good ever happens. We've got a choice what we're going to do with that particular sign of the zodiac. So you're never going to choose to be the weak person, but you're going to go through experiences that make you feel that way so you can fight back. So you can use the positive sides of any sign of the zodiac rather than the negative or the challenging signs. But at the same time, the challenging sides of it are the learning and then what you need to go through. So for a Scorpio person, their way of interpreting anything is to feel into it because that's what makes sense to them. At Aries, you take action on whatever's going on. A Virgo, you organize. So we've all got our own ways of working things out. And so it's about taking the positive attributes of that and using them rather than getting stuck in the more challenging or maybe negative attributes of that sign of the zodiac. So that's how that really affects us. And we use that energy to to evolve and grow. So, your sun sign is only one part of you. You've got your moon and all the other planets as well. But every one of those are placed somewhere in your chart to teach you something. So you're either going to learn what they teach you or you're not. And that's entirely up to you because you will be given opportunities, people, experiences, all sorts of things you'll be given to learn that lesson. And, you might sometimes say we talk again about about neglect. So you might learn, get neglected by your mother in this lifetime. It's something you've got to learn about. And so you master that. You go, okay, I'm not going to allow the neglectful behavior or attitude of my mother to affect me anymore. That's okay. That's who she is. I'm not going to allow that to define me in any way. So the universe goes, okay, let's just test her to make sure she's really got this lesson. And so they'll bring it to you from somebody else, from your father or from your husband or your girlfriend or whatever. You'll be
Yeah.
you'll be tested. Have I learned? You'll be neglected in some way by a girlfriend. And again, all those emotions may come up or may not. If they do, you haven't healed it yet. It's still there. You still feel that you deserve to be neglected in some way, and that's what hurts.
So what I've found over my lifetime and watching other people's is sometimes they can come up in like little micro. So
Yeah.
it's not necessarily, so say you've got the neglect from the mother, and then it maybe just a little bit of neglect from a friend that just in some way won't do this for you, or maybe a little bit of neglect from a brother so you see it kind of playing out in little micro lessons in those other relationships as well.
Yeah.
So
So
it may
again,
not necessarily.
no, but if you overly react to those micro things, they turn into really big things.
It can totally end a relationship.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Ah, so
So you're always
interesting.
being reminded of what when you know your soul chart or your natal chart, when you know what those lessons are that you've come in here to learn, you know when things happen, when you get triggered, that what it's actually about. This isn't triggering me. I mean, I know in my relationship, I mean, I have a lot of insecurities from past being trashed in other relationships and things, and I've worked really hard on those, but they can still be triggered. Every now and then something can happen or be said, and then I have to really realize, okay, this is my old wound of trigger that's
Yes.
being triggered. It's not what he's doing right now is reminding me I've still got work to do. But the
Yeah.
most natural thing to react to is, how dare you treat me like that? How dare you upset me like this? When
Yeah.
we
How
just
dare you bring this wound back up for me?
exactly, how dare you rip that wide open again?
Yeah. Yeah.
But they're actually doing you a favor and
That's right.
helping you with that.
And a lot of the time for me, when I look at that similar situation, I always use it as a reference point of how
Mm.
far have I come? How much
Yes.
have I grown in this situation? Oh,
Yeah.
wow, that didn't hurt so much. Oh, wow,
Yeah.
I didn't stay in that for so long. Oh, wow,
Yeah.
I'm actually, I might have overcome it, like it can, or actually, now that I've recognized that, I know what not to go back to. So
Yeah.
I have overcome it, so we can kind of fast forward through that as well. We don't have to continue to repeat it or
Yeah.
be victim to that wound.
Yeah.
Like it can be, no, I've got the cure for that
Yeah. And
because
the
I've
only
got the
way to really
awareness
do
around
that
it.
is you've got to get out of the emotions that
Yes.
or how everything's making you feel and start looking at what it's actually teaching you. And this is
Yes.
why I don't really like to work with people or under the age of like 18, because
No,
obviously
they're
they've
not
been through
emotionally developed.
experiences in life, but they haven't actually got far enough ahead in life or matured enough to be able to look at those things and go, oh, I get why I had to go through that.
No,
I
not
see
at
what
all.
I've
There's
learned.
not.
They're just
Yeah.
not ready yet. Even though they may want readings that young, they're not getting the full advantage of it.
Oh, now what readings do they want? Am I going to get married?
I don't.
How old am I going to be when I have? How many children am I going to have?
You see, I don't do those sorts of readings.
No.
No, that's not what I'm interested in.
No. And you don't wear the scarf or you don't have the crystal ball either, Deirdre?
No.
No.
But I have a theory that what we do as children is what we're meant to do as adults, because as a
Yeah.
child, you're only attracted to what you're good at and what you really enjoy doing. And
I
so that's
agree
what
with
our
that.
careers should be like in the future. And so, like, when I look back at my childhood, growing up in schools in New Zealand, you'd have your school fair. Well, who had the crystal ball and did all the readings? It was
Oh,
that
I love
person when I
that.
was
Oh,
about
how
the age of 8.
gorgeous.
Yeah. So, looking back at that, it was always there. But it's a good way to look at your life. I always sort of say with parents and with people, what did you enjoy doing when you were younger? Up until around about the age of 8, when you're just doing what you naturally are attracted to. We get
Mm.
too conditioned after the age of 8. We start getting conditioned into this is what you have to do and this is what looks good and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm just thinking about my children at the moment. Like, what are all those things? Um, so we were going to talk about universal laws, which I think would be really good as well. You kind of
Yeah.
touched on.
Yeah, so the universal laws are, kind of similar to the 10 Commandments without being all Christian about it. But they're
Yeah.
basically the basic ways in which we should all live. Like, nobody has the right to take another person's life.
Okay.
Yeah, nobody has the right to do that.
Right.
And, stealing from other people, it's not good. The universal laws basically say you treat other people as you wish to
Like
be
you want to be
treated.
distracted. Yeah.
And, that it seems old fashioned and, people might look at it because I think that's one of the problems we've gotten into is we're trying to evolve and be what we're not. We're,
That's
we're
right.
moving away from what's actually important to
The
thinking,
foundation. Thing
yeah,
needs a foundation to be able to build from anything. And we're trying to build skyscrapers from the top instead of like getting a good solid foundation.
yeah. And we're trying to look at life on Mars. What about fixing life on Earth?
Agreed.
Yeah, it's just it's becoming so disposable and so replaceable, and it's very
So
wrong. And so we've got to get back to what matters and connecting with the earth. And that's another thing with people are so disconnected from the God
yes.
energy or the universal energy and from the earth. I mean, it's interesting. You different places you go in the world where people are so disconnected from their food that they eat a hamburger, but they wouldn't know what that is to say
Isn't
it's a
it?
beef. Well, where does that come from?
I
Well,
know.
and
I can't believe that.
yeah. And the yeah, people think that you couldn't just pick something off a tree and eat it. That would be dirty. You have to actually get it in plastic sprayed box from the supermarket. And all of these things that people have been and thinking that we're moving forward. We've got more plastic. We're so evolved, but really, we're not looking at the big picture at all.
Look, I mean, being Māori, it's so important for us to be self-sustainable, I guess. Like we like to be able to grow our own food. We like to be able to go and collect our own kamoana, our own
Yeah,
seafood. And that's all about keeping that connection with
Earth.
Papatūānuku, with Mother Earth, right? And it's funny because an uncle of mine, I said to him, "Oh, I'm going to go and get some mussels." Oh, I don't care about that. I just go into the supermarket. And that to me is a prime example of how our people or people in general are just so disconnected from the things that truly matter to them. Because as a little girl, I remember him going and gathering big horse mussels and just watching everybody light up when you pull them out, and that everybody's going to enjoy this. So
Yes.
there's a whole experience that goes with it
Yeah.
versus just that going and grabbing it from the supermarket
And
and
the
having your little
incredible
feed to yourself.
satisfaction you get out of
Right.
catching and cooking something or growing something, then cooking it.
Yes.
It's
And sharing it
incredibly
with the ones
satisfying.
that you love, because
Yeah,
then that keeps going. So it's all about that intention, the intentional and bringing things back to being intentional.
yeah,
With-
absolutely. So that connect, I think that's one of the other universal laws is that we stay connected to what's real, to the
Yes.
land that we were born into.
Yes.
Because we come here, everything we need is here. All the
Yes.
resources we need are here, but we
Yes.
keep trying to put them into plastic or turn them into something else when actually just as it is perfect.
And you can look at that around, I know a lot of people that have made millions and millions and millions of dollars. I've got my own families that have self-made millionaires. And as I spend time with them, I think, your life is just the same. Your wants are just the same as ours. Your needs are just the same. It doesn't matter how much money you've got. Doesn't matter how much, you want the same things, which is connection.
Yeah,
Connection with one another, to feel
yeah,
like you belong somewhere, to be, it's all of those natural human needs. It's not about out here. It's
yeah.
about what's in here.
Yeah. And we've become so obsessed with what's outside of ourselves. I mean, to me, the ultimate success in life is inner peace.
Yes.
And no amount of money is going to buy that.
No. But
And it
what is
takes a
going to
lot.
create inner peace? It's that connection. It's that being able to share the blessings that you have. See, we've been taught to just get enough, just pull it away for yourself because it might run out. Well, it's infinite. The universe is infinite. Everything is infinite. We don't need to worry about that. It's actually about sharing and creating community and watching other people grow and expand and be able to pour that into that's making big impact. That's the impact. That's where the wins are for me personally. And
Absolutely.
I think for most people, to
Yeah.
be
So
honest, if people are genuinely
yeah. And when people come together, you can share in what you've created. And yeah, the feeling of satisfaction that comes from that rather than just this is mine and it's all for me and I'm not sharing. And
right. Because when you do that, it's a very lonely place. You see a lot of people out there who have made their millions, who have manifested in loads and loads of money, but they're so unhappy
yeah,
because they haven't got that connection with themselves. And I saw a podcast I think it was Will Smith talked about how, when you get to a certain stage of abundance, you get to, you're on the edge, and there's just what else? What else? So it's like you get depressed when you don't have enough money, but you actually get depressed when you have so much money and there's nothing left to fulfill you.
You know, that's all the
And
corruption comes in.
yeah, but then what? Yeah, right. Yeah, so that's when all. But also when we look at it from from a space of being more in touch with that and wanting to know what it is that's going to bring you back into that place of abundance, is that internal peace. It's
Mm.
being able to make being able to help other people grow and expand and lift
Yeah,
up and create that positive impact. So
yeah.
it's
Because all of that money, it's nothing. It's hollow. It doesn't. You know, I mean, money gives you opportunity. There's no doubt about it. And there's, I mean, and like anything in life, if you want it to work for you, you have to love it. So everybody should love money because it's a
yes.
wonderful tool and can help you to do all sorts of things. But it's not the be all and end all. And anything, again, it's not going to make you happy. You can have like it's Will Smith, whoever it was you saw said, you can have everything, every possession you could possibly imagine, but it's still not going to make you happy if you're not loving yourself.
If you're not loving yourself, and if you're not connected, if you don't have that community, if you don't have the ability to share that with other people, or the want to share that with other people,
Yeah.
I think a lot of it is because when you're putting it away all for yourself and you're just hiding yourself, you think about it, you look like Scrooge McDuck,
Yeah, 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 Rumpelstiltskin or something, yeah. You're just collecting it all for yourself, and yeah, it's not yeah. I mean, yeah,
that flow. It's
it
like
blows my
what
mind how
happens.
these people have so much money and do so
Just
little
not going
good
to
with it.
share it. I know, I know. But I mean, and then we look at energy as form, and when they're doing that, they're kind of sort of strangulating that, aren't they? They're not allowing it to flow. So where does it give? It's, it may not, they may still have the money sitting there because everything is energy, but they don't have all the other stuff that comes with that positive energy. So they're cutting themselves off in different areas,
Yeah,
which ends up being community,
yeah, and then they end up,
friendships,
having feeling
relationships.
like, they've got to hoard that money, they've got to hold on to it, that,
So that's all they've got
everybody's out
left.
to get them and,
Yeah.
because there's no security, real security in it because they're not peaceful on the inside.
And so when we look at that, how would the cosmos, the planets, anything, what would that, does any of that interconnect with that way of being? So
Well,
anybody that's
if we look at Taurus as a sign of the zodiac that's usually the most driven by money and assets. They have a great need for security through material assets and money. It's just they don't feel secure unless they've got that.
right.
But so the thing with that Taurus energy is that they've got this drive and this need for the finer things in life and to do well. But with alongside that, they also have this understanding that if I want those things, I've got to work for them.
Yes.
I can't just hold my hand out and expect to have those things. So they work hard for what they've got. And so that's a sign of the zodiac. If you're choosing to come here as a Taurus, you're coming here to learn about security and about what the real security is. And it's being able to let go of that need for possessions and money and things like that, and actually realize that true security, I feel my best when I'm just connected to the earth, connected to the God energy, and loving myself
And sharing it.
and sharing that. Yeah,
And
absolutely.
sharing it.
Yeah.
Watching. So would you say that a Taurus would be more likely to be that way inclined, or it doesn't quite land like that? There's a lot of
It doesn't
contributing
entirely
factors.
land like that, but it's just most Tauruses do have, like most Tauruses I've noticed, they have a number in their head that their bank balance is not allowed to get any lower than. And when it does, all hell lets loose. And so they're fine and content as long as it stays there. But the minute it gets a bit lower, they start to panic. I'm going to be out on the street. I'll have no food. My children will starve, whatever. The big
Okay.
drama starts, that insecurity. So, that's something for them to master is security in this lifetime and to find that through inner peace.
And balance.
And balanced, yeah. Yeah.
So when we were talking about the universal laws, I was kind of thinking, my brain automatically goes to, and it's probably because it's such a big thing at the moment around law of
Mm.
attraction. How does that align with the cosmos?
Well, you attract to you in this lifetime what you need to learn and what you need to work with.
Yeah.
So it's interesting, like The Secret, for instance, in that
Yes.
whole ability to manifest. I absolutely believe anybody can manifest anything, but if it's not meant for you in
But
this lifetime, it won't last. So you
thank you.
could you could buy, 100 lotto tickets every week, and eventually you probably will win because you're buying so many tickets. But
Yeah.
if you're not meant to win Lotto in this lifetime, you can still win it, but you won't be able to hold on to it.
Right.
You'll be that person that money's gone in 5 minutes. Or,
Yeah.
or you've built up so much debt with buying all those tickets that it all goes on the debt, but whatever it will be. So, yes, you can manifest what you want, but if it's not meant for you, you won't be able to hold on to it.
I think that's perfect. I think that's something that really needs to be discussed more of, because we look at manifesting, and there's all of this work out there at the moment around, being able to expand your vessel to be able to sustain more of that
Yeah.
abundance and prosperity. But there's also that interconnected and that link of you've come here to learn a certain lesson, so you can expand your vessel as much as you like. At the end of the day, if you've come here to have those big losses,
Mm.
you're going to have those big losses
Yeah.
because that's what your soul has signed up for. So we have to kind of take all of that into account. And they don't talk about that when we
Yeah,
talk
and
about,
sometimes your learning can be like one of my teacher's husband. He made a lot of money, but his lessons in this lifetime were to make a lot of money, then lose all that money,
that's
and
what I'm
then have to
saying.
make it again
Yes,
from a
right.
different in a different way. So yeah, and that's a big learning. So a lot of
Yes.
the people will choose to come in to make a lot of money, be very successful, and then lose it all. And how are you going to cope with that? That's the learning.
But I think that's wonderful because that also shows the other side of it as well.
Mm.
That yes, you may have signed up to lose all of that money, but that does not mean that you're not able to make that money back again and manifest that money back
Yes.
into your life again.
Yes.
And then this time around, because you've already closed out that cycle, you now can sustain the next part
Yeah.
of
So
your new karmic cycle.
yeah, absolutely. So, and like people who are born with Uranus, which is the planet of change, in the seventh house, which is the house of partnerships, 9 times out of 10, that means they're destined for divorce in this lifetime. So that
Right.
means, yes, you're probably destined to divorce the person at some stage, but that doesn't mean that you can't get back together, or that you can't marry
Right.
someone else, or that you'll never be with another person. It just
That's
means you're
right.
going to have to go through this experience and see how are you going to cope going through that, because how you cope going through that will define whether someone else comes into your life again, or whether that's it, or how you how you deal with it.
And I feel like that's why it's just so important with the information that we get given from having natal chart reading, is that it means that, maybe, and I know for myself, because I've always had this higher understanding that I have chosen people in my life at certain times because I've known that there's been certain things that I need to learn.
Yeah,
And those people are actually the easier people that I can let go of.
yeah,
So there were relationships that I would have, and I'd be like, well, they don't quite tick all the boxes, but I know I need to learn this right now. So I'm going to go through that with them. And then I'm going to be able to I will leave all the boxes for my last one, which is my husband, who
yeah,
ticks all the boxes. But, because that's the person I'm going to spend the rest of my life with. But just having that knowing. So for people that don't have that knowing, it is so important to be able to get that information from someone like yourself
yeah,
who,
absolutely. Because I mean, the worst thing is running blind, or walking blind, where you just don't. You think that everything's random and things just happen to me, and I'm always losing and things. Yeah,
yeah.
and you just yeah no.
And
Yes.
there, and then there's that. Sometimes there are stages in your life where you need to do that because it's all about you learning to listen to your inner compass.
Yes.
But when you've done that, and people like yourself are presented to you, like, right, if anybody's listening to this right now and you see Deidre, and this is your sign to get your natal chart, because your soul has brought that into your consciousness to be
Mm,
able to get that information, to be able to move forward, to make this next stage of your
yeah.
life a little bit easier.
Yeah, because I mean, my thing is that if you know who you are and what you've come here for, you can do anything. But if you're
Yes,
feeling that life's just a random, series of events that
it's
you have no
events.
control over, that you don't understand, and you have no idea why they keep happening to you, you're just a lost victim of everything in the world. So it's all about taking your power back.
And also, why are they turning up for me in this way? What is it that my soul is calling in right now to look at? And that everything's working for you instead of, the opposite. Well, as always, it's been a privilege and a pleasure. Thank you so much. And I'm hoping we will get to do this again very soon because we've still got so much to share. Thank you so much.